Willie D Live.
I play tennis several times a week. I play in leagues, and I used to play a lot of baseball, and I use a lot of sports analogy, and I use the boxing analogy. And I said, look, the system's designed to knock you out. That's what it is. But you got to keep getting back off the canvas and keep getting in there. It's a long fight. But you got to realize the first few rounds they're gonna pummel you, and you got to show your gumption. And an example was one of the bills that we got passed. Believe it or not, you could actually get probation for murder here in the state of Texas at one time. And I was with a family, and that happened. They were stunned. The guy that killed their son got probation. How do you get probation for murder? We filed that bill in 1999. 1999. In 2011, 12 years later, 7 legislative sessions, it passed.
But you can still get probation for manslaughter, right? Like if it's
vehicular
not
first
homicide?
Degree murder, yeah. But not first degree murder.
Okay.
Yeah, not first degree murder anymore. But if we don't keep coming back, and that's my point, we lost the first few rounds, right? We got clocked. And the state rep that sponsored the bill, I mean, he could have easily folded his card and said, hey, I tried. It's not going to happen. But he kept putting the bill up. We kept coming up. And finally, 12 years later, 7 sessions, it passed. So you can't get probation, I'm sorry, for murder anymore in the state of Texas. But if we don't do what we do and never give up, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell families, never give up. And especially for cases that are unsolved. Because I've worked with a family whose son and friend were murdered in 1994. And they did what stupid college kids do. They came down and tried to buy some dope during spring break, and they were shot and killed. The guy fled country 21 years later. He was caught and extradited back from, of all places, Venezuela. Stood trial, and he was convicted in 2017, 23 years later. But this family never gave up. Every year that we would do something to bring attention to these cases, because you never know. On that any given day or moment, somebody might say, hey, I remember that, or something, because I've seen it happen. And I've seen it happen all too often. So I tell families, no, we keep putting these cases out there.
Yeah, got to keep going. Do you remember when they used to call penitentiaries rehabilitation centers?
I do.
Facilities? Why did they take the word out, rehabilitation?
I think a lot of it is the base. You have a base, public.
You started calling them correctional facilities.
Voting.
Now.
You have blocks that didn't want prisoners to get treatment and things of that nature. And I get where a lot of people are coming from on that, because I've seen the horrors that some people have experienced as a result of those who do end up in prison. But again, I also, like we talked about earlier, also understand that they're coming back. And you've got to do something. The recidivism rate, repeat offenders of going back, that's something you can't be proud of. I mean, you're not supposed to keep going back. It's supposed to be a one-time deal. I learned my lesson. I'm never going to go back again. And unfortunately, that's just not happening in this day and age, and shame on us for allowing that to happen as well.
Hopefully we're a long way from this moment, but when it's time for you to go and you ain't got no more, when your name is evoked, how do you want people to remember you?
I would say, he never backed down, and he treated everybody the same, and it didn't matter whether they were a front page or a back page, and he treated everybody the same, and I worked with everybody from all aisles. People, it's interesting because a lot of times people say, you're this, and you're partisan, you're this, and this. I said, are you aware that I worked under 5 Democrat mayors? Do you have any idea? And in order for me to work with every, party, I have to work with every member. It didn't matter to me. And I can tell you, the victims of crime, they didn't care if they were a Democrat or Republican, period. Nobody ever asked them. So I would hope that people would say that he was an equal opportunity offender at times. It didn't matter to him. He just stood up for us and did the right thing, no matter what the consequences were.
Well, Andy, you have been doing the right thing for a long time, man, and we appreciate you.
And don't forget, when I refereed high school basketball for 28 years, I'm going to tell you something that probably nobody knows. I never missed a call. True story. Because if you ask me, I'll tell you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Andy Kahn, man, thank you, man. Thanks again. No more talk.
All right.
Oh, man.